I just noticed behind me John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company. But as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
Farmers, workers, and even politicians are rallying against John Deere, accusing it of exploiting its customers through restrictive repair policies and controversial outsourcing decisions. The debate has reached such a fever pitch that former President Donald Trump is even threatening massive tariffs on John Deere. So what's really going on behind the green and yellow logo? Buckle up, because John Deere is striking back hard against Donald Trump, and not everyone is happy about that. Farmers versus John Deere. The heart of the recent John Deere backlash revolves around the right to repair movement, a grassroots push for consumers to repair their own devices without interference from manufacturers. Farmers, particularly, have voiced frustration at John Deere's restrictive software locks on equipment, which prevent them from making necessary repairs independently. This conflict is no small matter. Farming machinery is often the most significant investment for a farmer, and when they can't repair their equipment, it impacts their ability to operate smoothly and efficiently. Imagine being a farmer, investing your hard-earned money into machinery you rely on daily, only to find out that the smallest breakdown requires you to call in a licensed dealer or an authorized technician, a costly and time-consuming process. Many farmers feel trapped, claiming that these policies inflate repair costs and lead to downtime during critical periods like planting and harvest seasons. A delay during these times can be devastating, risking entire crops and, in turn, their livelihoods. Farmers argue that self-repair has been a tradition in agriculture for generations, a tradition John Deere's restrictive policies seem to be actively dismantling. In response, John Deere defends these policies by saying they're necessary to protect their intellectual property and the safety of the equipment. John Deere claims that modern machinery is so advanced that it requires protections against unauthorized changes that could compromise safety or proprietary technologies. But farmers aren't buying it. They see it as a ploy to monopolize repair services, forcing them to rely on costly dealership repairs instead. The frustration is reaching a boiling point, sparking multiple lawsuits across the country, including a major class action lawsuit in Chicago. This legal action argues that John Deere's practices effectively create a repair monopoly, cornering the market and infringing on farmers' rights. John Deere's decision to move manufacturing to Mexico. In another move that has stirred the pot, John Deere recently announced plans to relocate some of its manufacturing operations to Mexico, sparking outrage among American workers, unions, and loyal customers. At a time when the company is experiencing record profits, critics are asking why John Deere would choose to ship jobs out of the US. This decision is viewed by many as a betrayal of John Deere's historical image as an icon of American agriculture, a brand that stood for local manufacturing and American jobs. Now, they argue, the company's choice to prioritize profits over its domestic workforce reflects a stark shift in values. Some insiders even claim that the decision was not purely a result of rising US costs, but rather a strategic move to cut expenses by taking advantage of lower wages in Mexico. American workers feel this is a blatant display of corporate greed, especially when executives are enjoying generous bonuses while loyal employees are laid off. In response to the criticism, John Deere maintains that the move is necessary to stay competitive in a challenging global market where cost efficiency is vital. The company cites rising operational costs in the US and declining demand for certain products as key reasons behind the shift. Despite these justifications, the skepticism remains. Many Americans view John Deere's actions as hypocritical, questioning how a company with such monumental profits can justify moving jobs out of the country. Skeptics argue that the decision is less about staying competitive and more about padding corporate profits. This development has left a bitter taste among workers and customers, who now feel a deep sense of betrayal by a company they once regarded as a steadfast ally in American agriculture. Political stakes and potential implications. Former President Donald Trump recently entered the conversation, issuing a stark warning that John Deere's relocation plans could result in a massive 200% tariff on any products manufactured outside the US. This announcement has further charged the already tense atmosphere, adding a political dimension to what started as an internal corporate issue. By positioning himself as a champion for American jobs, Trump aims to rally working-class voters who feel overlooked by corporate decisions, prioritizing profit over community welfare. Trump's intervention expansion, however, has its own implications. Such a tariff would not only hurt John Deere's profitability, but could also create ripple effects for farmers reliant on the company's equipment. If costs increase, it's likely those expenses would be passed down to consumers, meaning farmers would bear the brunt of it. Political observers speculate that Trump's tariff threats may be a strategic move to galvanize support from a base disillusioned by corporate greed and global outsourcing trends. His message resonates with the American working class, but it also places John Deere in a difficult position, forcing the company to weigh the risks of sticking to its plan or yielding to political pressure. Meanwhile, industry experts warn that a 200% tariff on John Deere's imported products could set off a chain reaction, with other countries potentially retaliating. This is not unfamiliar territory. During the US-China trade war, American farmers felt the impact of retaliatory tariffs, which damaged their export markets and made it harder to remain competitive, with the agricultural sector already struggling with high input costs and unpredictable markets. This political maneuvering could add further pressure on an already delicate industry. CEO John May's response. John Deere's CEO John May has been at the forefront of the company's response to this wave of criticism, addressing concerns from farmers, workers, and the political sphere. May has acknowledged that the situation is complex, but maintains that Deere's recent actions are essential for long-term sustainability. In the face of right-to-repair criticism, May asserts that Deere is exploring ways to balance intellectual property rights with consumer needs. He emphasizes that modern machinery integrates advanced technology, which necessitates certain protections. According to May, safeguarding Deere's innovations is critical to maintaining the high safety and performance standards expected by users. When questioned about the move to Mexico, May outlined his stance, defending the decision as a necessary adjustment in a global market. He argues that shifting some operations overseas allows Deere to optimize costs, ensuring the company can continue investing in new technologies and innovations. May reassures consumers that despite some production moving to Mexico, Deere remains committed to a strong American presence, with substantial investments in research and development within the US. He explains that these investments drive the next generation of agricultural machinery, benefiting farmers by improving productivity and efficiency. While May's comments aim to placate critics, doubts remain among stakeholders. Farmers argue that the company's stated commitment to American agriculture seems contradictory when jobs are moving south. Likewise, many remain unconvinced by the rationale that the right to repair must be limited due to intellectual property concerns. With the controversy showing no signs of abating, Deere's leadership finds itself in a tight spot, tasked with restoring public trust and navigating the complex issues it faces on all fronts. The financial burden of repair restrictions. The debate around the right to repair isn't just about farmers' rights, it's about their livelihoods. The financial implications of John Deere's restrictive repair policies are staggering, leaving many farmers facing unexpected and often crippling costs. With software locks on Deere machinery, many farmers have no choice but to rely on authorized dealers for repairs, which are significantly more expensive and can lead to substantial downtime. The cost isn't limited to the price of parts and labor. When essential machinery breaks down during critical times, like planting or harvest seasons, every hour counts. Any delay can turn into lost crops, and in turn, lost revenue. One Illinois farmer shared his story, highlighting the extreme lengths he's had to go to avoid these repair restrictions. After experiencing a software glitch during harvest that only John Deere's authorized dealers could fix, he lost a portion of his crop. That loss meant not only a blow to his income, but also a lasting impact on his confidence in the brand. This sentiment is becoming more widespread, with many farmers voicing a shared frustration that they feel John Deere cares more about profit margins than supporting the very people who've kept the brand thriving for decades. Additionally, the cost of repairs for John Deere equipment has increased sharply in recent years. Reports indicate that in the past 2 decades, the average repair costs for Deere machinery have nearly doubled, largely due to proprietary technology that only John Deere dealers can service. Senator Elizabeth Warren has taken note, recently calling for policies that would regulate such repair monopolies. She argued that no corporation should have the power to monopolize the repair market and impose unfair costs on hardworking farmers. Her comments have intensified the debate and put even more public pressure on Deere's leadership to change its stance. the fallout among American workers. In addition to facing farmers' discontent, John Deere's recent decision to move some manufacturing operations to Mexico has stirred outrage among American workers. With the company seeing record profits, many workers and labor advocates are questioning how Deere can justify outsourcing American jobs. Deere's justification centers on staying competitive, citing rising costs in the U.S. and the need to keep prices reasonable for its customers. But to many American workers, this reasoning doesn't add up. They argue that a company enjoying monumental profits has no reason to lay off loyal employees and move jobs out of the country. Critics point to Deere's history as a symbol of American industry, a brand that has been a part of rural America's identity for generations. By moving jobs south, Deere is seen as prioritizing profit margins over the communities it once proudly supported. Union leaders have expressed anger at the move, labeling it as a betrayal of American workers. They argue that Deere's decision contradicts its claims of commitment to the American workforce and harms the communities that rely on the company for employment. A representative from the United Workers Union stated, "John Deere was built on the backs of American workers. To abandon them for cheaper labor in Mexico is a slap in the face." To soften the backlash, Deere's CEO John May explained that the decision was not made lightly. According to May, it's a response to market pressures and the need for global competitiveness. However, some industry insiders claim that this is just a convenient excuse. They allege that the real motivation behind the shift is to boost profit margins by cutting labor costs. Some have even suggested that the company is moving jobs to Mexico not because it has to, but because it wants to maximize executive bonuses by reducing operational expenses. This narrative has sparked even more resentment among workers who feel they are being sacrificed for corporate gain. As the criticism mounts, John Deere finds itself under intense scrutiny from a workforce that once viewed the brand as an American icon, but now feels abandoned by the very company they helped build. Trump's tariff threat and the potential fallout. The controversy over John Deere's business decisions took on a new level of intensity when former President Donald Trump made a bold declaration. If John Deere continues its plans to move jobs to Mexico, he would propose a 200% tariff on all John Deere products manufactured outside the United States. This proposed tariff has triggered a massive political debate and drawn even more attention to Deere's decisions. Trump's statement has effectively placed John Deere at the center of a political firestorm, with politicians on both sides weighing in on what this means for American jobs, trade, and corporate accountability. Trump's stance resonates strongly with American workers who feel betrayed by corporations moving jobs overseas. By threatening a 200% tariff, Trump aims to send a message to corporations that prioritize profits over American jobs. This hardline stance is popular among his base, who view it as a stand against corporate greed. However, the potential tariff raises concerns among farmers and industry experts. For farmers who rely on John Deere's machinery, such a steep tariff could drastically raise prices, potentially pushing some to buy from other manufacturers or seek alternative solutions. In fact, some political analysts speculate that Trump's announcement is part of a broader strategy to galvanize his base for upcoming elections by focusing on American labor and jobs. The tariff threat allows Trump to tap into the frustrations many working-class Americans feel toward corporations. Meanwhile, some critics argue that this move is short-sighted and could have unintended consequences. If a tariff were to be imposed on John Deere, it could lead to increased costs for farmers, who are already struggling with high input prices and market unpredictability. Moreover, this tariff could set off a chain reaction, with countries like Mexico potentially retaliating with tariffs on American agricultural exports, a situation eerily reminiscent of the US-China trade war that disrupted markets for American farmers. Experts warn that should Mexico retaliate with tariffs on American goods, the agricultural sector could face serious repercussions. Farmers remember well the damage caused by retaliatory tariffs during the trade disputes in recent years. American exports to Mexico are vital, particularly for small-scale farmers who depend on international markets to make a profit. If relations with Mexico sour, it could spell disaster for many in the farming community who are already grappling with razor-thin margins. Trump's tariff threat has therefore put John Deere in an extremely delicate position, forcing the company to weigh its options carefully while attempting to protect its reputation, satisfy shareholders, and avoid a political nightmare. Farmers fight back in court. As tensions with John Deere continue to rise, farmers are turning to the courts to challenge the company's restrictive repair policies. A major lawsuit was recently filed in Chicago, accusing John Deere of monopolizing the repair market and forcing farmers into an unfair system that benefits only the company and its authorized dealers. This lawsuit represents a significant escalation, as it aims to prove that Deere's repair restrictions not only infringe on consumer rights, but also violate antitrust laws by creating an illegal monopoly. Farmers involved in the lawsuit argue that by preventing access to repair tools, software, and diagnostic codes, John Deere has effectively cornered the market on repairs. Many farmers believe that Deere's control over repairs is a deliberate attempt to drive up repair costs and lock them into a cycle of dependency on John Deere service centers. This restriction not only drains farmers' financial resources, but also threatens their operational efficiency, as they are forced to wait for authorized technicians during crucial agricultural seasons. As one farmer involved in the lawsuit put it, "They're taking advantage of us. We put our trust in John Deere, but now it feels like they're holding us hostage." The stakes of this lawsuit are high. If farmers win, it could set a precedent, not only for the agricultural industry, but for other sectors that face similar right-to-repair battles, such as the electronics and automotive industries. In response, John Deere has defended its practices by emphasizing the importance of intellectual property protection. Deere's legal team argues that by restricting access to certain software, the company is merely safeguarding its proprietary technology and ensuring the safety of its machinery. But this explanation has done little to sway public opinion, as more farmers, politicians, and consumer rights advocates join the push for more accessible repair options. The legal battle is now shaping up to be a landmark case, one that could redefine the rights of consumers and the obligations of manufacturers across industries. Rising costs across the board. As if repair restrictions weren't enough, farmers are also grappling with soaring input costs, which are making it increasingly difficult to maintain profitable operations. From seeds and fertilizers to fuel and machinery maintenance, the price of nearly every essential item has skyrocketed in recent years, adding to the financial pressures on farmers. Supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions have driven fertilizer prices to unprecedented levels, in some cases nearly doubling. These rising costs place a huge financial burden on farmers, many of whom already operate on narrow profit margins. Additionally, rising fuel prices have hit farmers particularly hard, as they are essential for powering agricultural machinery. With the costs of both fuel and equipment maintenance climbing, farmers face tough choices. Some have been forced to scale back their operations, while others have had to take on additional debt just to keep their farms running. This financial squeeze is exacerbated by John Deere's repair policies, which add even more expenses to the equation. For some farmers, the combination of rising input costs and Deere's repair restrictions has created a situation that feels unsustainable. Many farmers are now publicly voicing their frustrations, calling for greater accountability from both John Deere and the government. They argue that Deere's actions are not just impacting their individual businesses, but also threatening the stability of the American agricultural sector as a whole. Senator Elizabeth Warren recently commented on the situation, stating, "When a company has this much control over an essential industry, it puts our food supply and rural communities at risk." Warren's remarks have sparked additional calls for government intervention, with some politicians suggesting that Deere's practices need to be regulated to protect American farmers from predatory corporate behavior. A double-edged sword for farmers. Advanced technology has undoubtedly transformed the agricultural sector, allowing farmers to increase productivity and optimize their operations. But with this technology comes new challenges, especially when it's controlled by corporations like John Deere. Modern farming machinery is now equipped with sophisticated software systems that require specialized knowledge to operate and maintain. While this technology can enhance efficiency, it also comes with a learning curve and often requires costly training or technical support to master. The need for tech support has become another revenue stream for John Deere, but farmers argue that it feels more like an obligation than a service. Many farmers feel they are being held hostage by Deere's software, which makes it impossible for them to fix their own machinery without paying hefty fees for authorized support. To make matters worse, the proprietary software in Deere's machines is designed to lock up if unauthorized repairs are attempted, rendering the equipment inoperable. One farmer from Nebraska shared his experience. "I had a software issue with my tractor that wouldn't allow it to start. I called Deere and they told me they'd have someone out in 3 days. By the time they arrived, I had already lost valuable time during planting season. It cost me thousands." As a result, many farmers feel torn between the benefits of advanced machinery and the limitations that come with it. While new technology can offer improved yields and efficiency, farmers are increasingly questioning if the benefits outweigh the costs, especially when they're tied to restrictive repair policies. This dependence on corporate-controlled technology has led some farmers to seek alternative solutions, even considering older, less technologically advanced equipment that they can repair themselves. However, this option is not feasible for everyone, as older equipment may not meet the demands of modern large-scale farming. The tension surrounding technology and agriculture highlights a broader issue. Who controls the tools farmers need to do their jobs? Many believe that the power imbalance between farmers and corporations like John Deere is growing, as companies wield more influence over the technology essential to modern farming. The right to repair movement is not just about the ability to fix machines. It's about empowering farmers to retain control over their livelihoods in an era where technology is rapidly reshaping the landscape of agriculture. The debate over repair rights is likely to continue, but for many farmers, the message to Deere is clear. They want access to the tools and information necessary to manage their equipment on their own terms, without interference or excessive costs. Grassroots movements gain momentum. In response to the mounting challenges they face, farmers across the country are beginning to organize and push back against John Deere's practices. The right to repair movement has become a rallying point, uniting farmers who are tired of feeling exploited by restrictive repair policies and costly dealership-only repairs. This movement, which started as a small grassroots effort, has grown into a national conversation, with farmers using social media, community meetings, and even large-scale protests to voice their concerns. Support for the movement has extended beyond the farming community, with consumer rights advocates, environmentalists, and even some politicians joining the fight. Senator Bernie Sanders recently voiced his support, stating, "No corporation should have the power to control an entire industry's repair market. Farmers deserve the right to maintain their own equipment without corporate interference." His remarks highlight how the right to repair issue is not just about farming, it's about consumer rights in a technology-driven world, where manufacturers are increasingly controlling how products are used and maintained. Furthermore, some states have taken steps to support the right to repair, with legislation introduced that would require companies like John Deere to make repair manuals and diagnostic tools available to consumers. If these laws pass, they could set a precedent, forcing other manufacturers to allow independent repairs across various industries. The support from lawmakers, combined with the growing frustration among farmers, indicates that this is more than just a fleeting protest. It's a movement that seeks to redefine the relationship between corporations and consumers, one that prioritizes fairness and transparency over corporate profit. The future of American farming. The outcome of the right to repair battle will have lasting implications for American agriculture. Farmers are already dealing with numerous challenges, from unpredictable weather patterns and fluctuating commodity prices to increasing input costs. The additional burden of repair restrictions and the rising cost of high-tech machinery only add to the financial strain. Many farmers feel that unless something changes, the future of American farming is at risk, with small to medium-scale farmers particularly vulnerable. One of the most pressing concerns is the trend toward industry consolidation. As small farms struggle to compete with larger agricultural corporations, they are often forced to sell their land or shut down entirely. This has led to a shift in the agricultural landscape, where a few large corporations increasingly dominate the market, reducing diversity in crop production and threatening local economies. If farmers continue to face restrictive repair policies and high costs, the survival of independent farms will become even more uncertain. The consolidation of the agriculture industry also has potential repercussions for food security. When fewer companies control the production and repair of farming equipment, any disruption, whether due to economic instability, labor shortages, or trade conflicts, could impact the entire food supply chain. The current situation with John Deere is a reminder of the risks that come with such centralized control, and many farmers are now questioning whether this model serves their interests or merely prioritizes corporate profits. For these farmers, the right to repair is about more than fixing a tractor. It's about preserving a way of life that values self-reliance, community, and the freedom to make choices about their livelihoods. John Deere's next move. As public pressure mounts and legal battles intensify, all eyes are on John Deere to see how the company will respond. Deere has defended its repair policies and the decision to move some operations to Mexico, citing economic necessity and the need to protect intellectual property. But the backlash has put Deere's leadership in a challenging position, as it faces criticism from customers, workers, and political figures alike. CEO John May has made some attempts to address these concerns, emphasizing Deere's commitment to American farmers and promising improved access to certain repair tools. However, critics argue that these measures are not enough to address the underlying issues. Some industry experts believe Deere may ultimately have to compromise if it wants to preserve its brand image and customer loyalty. The company could consider expanding access to repair resources or partnering with independent repair shops to allow for more affordable and accessible options. Doing so could help restore trust among farmers who feel betrayed by the current policies. Others speculate that Deere's leadership may wait for the outcome of the lawsuits and proposed legislation before making any significant changes, choosing to prioritize legal and financial interests over public opinion. Either way, the choices John Deere makes in the coming months will have a lasting impact on its reputation and relationship with its customers. The company has the opportunity to lead by example, setting a standard for corporate responsibility in the agricultural industry. Alternatively, if Deere continues to resist change, it risks alienating its core customer base and facing increased scrutiny from lawmakers and the public. As Deere navigates this controversy, the future of the brand and potentially the agricultural industry as a whole hangs in the balance. With this ongoing controversy, it's clear that John Deere is at a crossroads. Will they listen to the demands of farmers and allow them the freedom to repair their own equipment? Or will they hold fast to policies that many believe prioritize profits over people? The stakes are high, not only for John Deere, but for American farming as a whole. As farmers continue to rally together, push for legislation, and fight in the courts, the battle over the right to repair is far from over. If you're as intrigued as we are by the unfolding drama, make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. With every new development, we'll keep you informed on where John Deere, the farmers, and American agriculture are heading. Thanks for watching, and let's continue this conversation in the comments. What do you think Deere's next move should be?